So how do we know that you get your soul at conception and not, for example, first breath? Because the soul is what matters here. There's either a God, and that's what I'm here proving, or there's not a God. If there's not a God, we can kind of make up whatever we decide is best. There is a God, we kind of have to go by his rules. Well, if we want to be dutiful and have the most profound life experience and benevolent factors of reality possible. That's what I want. I want stargates. I want technology. I want to feed the poor, etc., etc. So it would stand that when you interact in the way that you make a new human, that's when the soul would happen. So you go to have sex, and then at conception, when the sperm meets the egg, something magical happens, and the soul is bound to the body. The prophetess Katker, Katkerr, I believe, talks about this too. The soul is generated inside the chest of God, and then it is brought to earth, and there's a buoyancy that when the body passes away, it wants to return to heaven. But so this is important. What can we do to understand if this is truly how it works? Well, one, if you're a skeptic or atheist or whatever, you can ask God. You can say, "Hey, can you let me know?" I originally didn't really. It's not that I didn't care about abortion. I just didn't really have a dog in the fight. I was going to kind of let it be brought up by other people, but God one day told me. He said, "I want you to think about abortion," and I said, "No, I don't have a fight in this." And remember, this is how I talk to God. Like God and I are going to hash it out, and in the end, I'm going to consider what He wants me to do, and I'm not going to be disobedient, but I get to hash it out. I get to have my opinions because I am my own man. A lot of people say like you should want to be like Jesus, and in a way, if Jesus is the master samurai or the master knight, I want to be like him, but I don't want to be him. My name is Joshua, not Jesus. I don't want to be Jesus. I want to be Joshua. So I said no. And then a little bit later, God said, "I want you to consider abortion." And I said, "No, I don't really have a dog in this fight." And He said, "I want you to consider abortion." I said, "No, if you want me to consider abortion, you have to put it on my heart." And then He showed me a sonogram of a mama dog. Like, so there was this really beautiful dog, and they did a sonogram of it on it. And she had like 6 or 8 puppies in her belly, and I wanted to die. I was like, oh my God, that is the most adorable thing in the universe. And my heart grew 3 sizes. Like, I was like, oh my God, little puppies in the mama's belly. So cute. So it stands to reason that you get your soul at conception and not first breath, because you're getting breath from your mom through the umbilical cord, is how you're getting oxygen. But then in the Bible, we know Mary was pregnant with Jesus, and we know Mary's cousin was pregnant with John the Baptist. John the Baptist was Elijah. Elijah is one of the 3 people in the Bible who didn't die. He was taken up to heaven, and then he was returned to earth through Mary's cousin. And I think this is also so Jesus didn't kind of go nuts. He had someone who entered creation like himself. So both Elijah and Jesus, who is God, entered creation for another time. So this was Jesus's first time entering creation, even though after he died and became God, because he didn't falter, he didn't succumb to temptation, and completed his mission. He was therefore part of God now throughout all of time and history, and all of time, including before time was made. Anyways, so when Jesus is in his mom's belly and John the Baptist is in his mom's belly, and the cousins get close to each other, they both jump. because they can sense each other. So this helps prove that babies have souls before they're born. And if you want to know, if you think I'm wrong, or you still have hate or anger, or just don't believe it, or have your own thoughts, just tell God. Just say, hey, I don't know if what Joshua says is true. Can you tell me the truth? Can you tell me how this makes sense? I don't feel this is right. And all Christians believe in agency over your body. The tricky part that isn't really debated well is we believe that if you're going to have sex, which is a lot of fun, um, you can't enter sexual intercourse and say, I want to have sex, but I don't want to have a baby. Like with birth control, you can say, I don't want to have a baby yet, but that's still the process you're entering. You're just trying to control the important part of it. The important part of sex is making babies. The pleasure is secondary. And where Christianity also stands on this is if someone asks me to bow before an idol or I have to die, the answer is I have to die. And we rely on God to protect us from ourselves, from life, and to watch over us. It is a great honor to die in service of your king. However, this is the stance. But this still isn't the end of the conversation because a man's duty is to die for his wife and child, and a woman's duty is to tend to her children. Men are originally the kings of society, and women are the queens of life. But we are complements of each other. To have a man take part in child rearing is amazing, and to have a woman take part in shaping society is wonderful and just as endearing. So I will truly say this. If you want to know where Christianity stands and what the right thing to do is, because it's such a nuanced topic, it's everyone's arguing it so many different ways, and nobody's really coming up with ultimate arguments on what we should do. You have to bring those questions to God because He's the only one who can really set us on a path. He's the ultimate decider. And if you don't like what He has to say, you can tell Him you don't like it and you don't approve of it, and then listen to what He says after that. But this is where the argument has to go. It's the same as my argument with Christianity. People like to argue that Jesus is real because of the Bible. That is a horrible way to do it. The Bible is articulate foundational information, but it doesn't take us towards spiritual enlightenment or a spiritual foundational experience. Only witnessing the supernatural can do that. So the church was tasked with telling people the good news that if you believe in Jesus, you'll have everlasting life and not perish. They're supposed to heal the sick supernaturally, and they're supposed to push away the demonic supernaturally. And when all the three of those things happen, it's easy to believe in Christianity. Like I healed my friend's foot, and he said, "Okay, I guess I'm Christian." And I had this other friend, I healed his arm, and he was a Satanist. He believed in science and didn't believe in God. But he told me, he said, "Hey, I'll tell you what. Pray for my cat. If my cat gets healed, I'll become Christian because I'll know there's a God." And I had just healed his hand, but I could see how much his cat meant to him, how much he loved this animal. And so I did. I was like, oh, okay. And then I asked him how he was doing and what was up. And he said, well, I'm a Christian now. I was like, oh, okay, just like that. And he said, well, I gave my word, and that's important to me. I said, if God heals my cat, I'll become Christian. And I went home, and my cat was healed. So now I am Christian. I was like, wow, just like that, huh? He said, well, I gave my word. Wow, just okay. I apologize that everything is so combative. I apologize that everything seems hostile. One of the downsides of the past 20 years is there's no grandparents on the internet. So it became like the Wild West. So all the knowledge and wisdom and experience of the past generations got lost because nobody thought to get online. Churches just upload sermons as if social media is the same thing as just what TV used to be. Social media is the next change in media. So we had like the newspaper, and then the radio took over, and then television took over, and then the internet took over, and now social media is taking over. I just want you guys to know I love you, and I'm not trying to get under your skin or get under your feathers, but as we're going to see, as soon as I can start healing people and show the evidence, there is a God, and we have a duty to help employ his tactics. That way, the whole world may experience wealth and tranquility. And that's what I'm after is kind of wealth and tranquility. But yeah, I love you guys. Ooh, and supernatural experiences. I love me some supernatural experiences. See, I couldn't be a Jedi and I couldn't be an X-Men, so I knew all the supernatural stories around missionaries, and I thought, well, that's the best next thing. Anyway, love you guys.